So I'd like to preface this. I haven't really done YouTube, so this is kind of my first video. And it's weird because this was actually something a long time ago that Dusty encouraged me to do. I came to him with this idea, and this idea was talking about the community and the people that make change and the people that make a difference in it. The people that are positive, the people that are good, the people that are there to not just buy and sell, but to have a relationship. And about a year ago and some change, lost a really good relationship for a lot of us. And while we can't have it back, we can do better going forward because of it. And I feel like the opportunity that I had to learn the things that I did about Dusty make me a better person, make me a better person in this community. Because, you know, when this entire thing started, we were going to interview all these different auctioneers, all these different people, and I was never supposed to be the interviewee. And you can see that. This is a face for radio. This isn't, my mic's terrible, the picture's bad. I didn't know what I was doing. It was Zoom. And, you know, we were using a laptop and a phone. Didn't really know what we were doing. But we had a great conversation. And it's not fair to keep that to myself, because it had an impact on me. And I hope that, you know, getting to see this and listen to it and hear it, maybe it will have a good impact on you. Because I can tell you that no matter how many times I've run into trolls, or I've been upset with somebody and I've wanted to say something back, I do remember the kindness that Dusty always found, no matter what. He always found this kindness. And the world could use a lot of kindness right now. It could use a lot of kindness. And if you're a part of this comic book community, I encourage you to remember Dusty in your actions. And please forgive me for not taking better quality of this video, because it would be so much better if it was just Dusty. But I hope everybody takes something away good from this. So without anything else to be said, this was an interview that was set up with Sales to Astonish, Dusty. It was built under the premise of being able to talk about him as an auctioneer, and about him as a person in the comic book community, and also talk about his passions of not just comics, but charities, and his philanthropic nature, which was the biggest part to Dusty that made him special amongst everyone in the community, set him out far apart from everyone. And yeah, so I hope you like what we had the opportunity to discuss, and I look forward to continuing this channel and the things that I do with the things that I learned from him, and in conversations like this one. See you guys soon.
Those branches out that may or may not see,
Yeah.
what this guy's doing or this guy's doing. And that's why I've always, I've never been one to be like, oh, I can't do this the same night as somebody else, because to me, there's exponential amounts of people buying comic books, especially right now. People are stuck at home. So to me, the competition is a good thing. And, as long as we're okay with each other, if I'm running an auction and somebody's in there and I know that, say, Gazer has a book up and somebody in there that buys from me regularly has been looking, I can say, hey, go check this out. He's got this tonight. And they might pop over there and then see somebody looking for something and go, hey, check this out. Like, so to me that's not really like a, oh, don't do it on my night sort of thing. Like, we all try to be as cordial as possible. You don't want to do it, but there's only 7 nights in the week, and everybody's hurt and everybody's selling books. And to me, as long as everybody's cordial about it, like, there's no reason not to do sales the same night. And I think this will help kind of, put that all together too. So,
and you guys, and I think not just you, but a lot of everybody kind of does some more specializing than others. Some people prefer more of like your Silver Age, Bronze Age. Some people like more modern. Some people like to do more various. Some people do all of the above, like you do, kind of like just mixing them around a little bit. But some people are like, I just want to straight up look for indies, so that, that occasional Wednesday when, Pink does more of a indie face night, that'd be a bigger deal for somebody like that than as opposed to maybe somebody going to Gazer's page and seeing a lot more, or like TM, like Tyler's page, TM Comics or something like that, and seeing like all moderns.
Absolutely. I mean, I get guys that come in a lot and they ask for indie books, and then my situation where I'm in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. Like, I moved back here from LA due to a car accident a little over a year ago, and that's really when I got into doing the auctions, was because I was out of work and I was like, well, I love doing this stuff. I'm sitting on this stuff. I've got the time. I've got the housing right now. Like, let's go at it and see what happens. And it's working out well, but I don't have a local comic shop within like an hour or so. So moderns to me, if I'm not ordering them online, I'm a lot of times I'm not getting them because I'm already paying what the flipper value is, and it's not really worth it. So unless I can get on like a pre-order, so I don't have a lot due to that. And the same with indies, I just don't come across them as much. So yeah, like a guy like G, who I know bought out like a comic book store and is sitting on boxes and boxes of indies, I can say, hey, check this dude out. Like, I know he's a good dude. I've bought from him. Like, we're in a group chat together. Like, so I can send people there and go, this dude's got all the indies you need.
And that's the thing too, right? We're trying to also make sure we're sending to people that we've dealt with as well, right? So like, all of a sudden we know, are they baiting and switching books? Because I've had a few of those. I've had a few guys that's kind of like, all of a sudden, regularly, every single time, there's just some kind of emergency when it comes to shipping, and boy, they need your payment like that second. But it's going to take 2 weeks for them to even put it in the mail to get it to you. So it's kind of like, we want to try and at least find guys that are really trying to not just put out not just circulate books and make some money, but do it in a very a responsible way. I mean, because you're trying to treat these people like a customer base, like there's a relationship, and we feel that, especially because I mean, there's a few of you guys too that do, like in the auctions, there's a conversation. It's not just oh, somebody's at this point and then they're gonna go head to head with blah blah blah. It's like almost like an auction.
To me, honestly, like I love the conversation because I don't do well on camera. My anxiety kills me. Like there was a good 10 minutes before we did this. I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be good, And I'm always fine once I get into it, but you know how that crap works. So to me, like, having people talking
Yeah.
it helped so much because the concept of being the only one speaking and nobody can really respond vocally. It's all on the keyboard. It's a very strange concept.
Yeah.
And when you don't really care for the sound of your own voice, it gets a little hard. So that's I've always got music on in the background, and like you'll catch me singing because I'm getting distracted. I'll let myself get distracted because I know I'll have more fun that way than if I'm just worried about like I'll totally misplace the people like, hey, I should be winning this now. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go back and look at where the bid's at because I was over here dancing and singing like an idiot, Yeah. But the conversation keeps. I think is what makes it fun. I when I do these things, when I first started, I was working off of literally just my personal collection, like. I wasn't buying stuff. It was just, okay, what do I have? And then I was hitting up like antique. I do have antique stores here, which I've been able to find a lot of the good older stuff at.
Cool.
I'll go and dig for hours and find stuff in the same guy's books that have been sitting there since 1983 that I somehow missed the last, because I know he's not coming in there and putting more stuff in it. Like, this is one of those dudes that clips the bags where they would flip over to tape. He just clips that completely off. So flipping through those is such a pain in the ass because your finger goes down in it and like you're pulling the bag, it's one of those dudes. But so I find a lot of stuff like that, and once I was able to build it up to where I was able to place orders ahead of time. I wasn't, okay, I got this from this amount, from this auction, I can put this back into it. And now I got to place an order, hope it gets here in time. Like I was doing that for a little while.
Yeah.
And it finally just got to that point where I was like, okay, I've actually got books left over. Like, so it's grown up enough with that where, I've got a few guys that I order from online that are like, I don't even know how I stumbled across them, but I found these little dinky websites that I will never tell anyone about.
They're my secret.
It's like this is the one that I will cling to. Like I'll tell you where the antique store is if you want to know, because odds are you're probably not going to go. But this one is like okay, I cling to this.
Because if somebody goes and cleans them out, I'm going to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. So like I've got that, and that's where I do a lot of my buying at. So the modern stuff, unless I've started doing a few pre-orders just because it's some of the characters are so incredibly hot, like Venom and I have to keep my personal taste out of it as a seller sometimes because I'm not a big Venom fan.
Not either.
I think it's.
But I read one recently that I was like, oh, I might need to read these because it was pretty impressive.
The story writing is great. I love what Cates is doing with it. I look at it as a cash grab. Venom to me right now is what Chromium covers were in 1993. You slap it on something and people are buying it, and they're paying stupid amounts of money for it the day after it comes out. And so if I can get a hold of something like that ahead of time, I will. But I'm not going to drive an hour and a half to pick up a couple of books at like $3.99 that I might make $20 on.
I kind of see that with like the Batman Who Laughs and the Robin King and the things. It feels a bit like it's a recycled character. It's basically a dark Spider-Man, and it's Batman.
Well, and we're trying to capitalize on what Batman Who Laughs did.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with a kid that's in one of my groups, and he went like super heavy on it. I'm like, look, I get it. You'll be able to flip it. It's a $6 book. Guarantee you'll be able to double it. Like you might be able to get 18 for it. I think they were doing 20 at one point. But the difference between this and Batman Who Laughs is Batman Who Laughs was in a Teen Titans offshoot of that storyline, and they didn't know at that point that book was going to go big. That book wasn't printed heavily the way that this one shot for this is the massive print run on that. So yeah, they were hitting $20. I don't think they're ever going to be more than that.
Yeah.
I
can see that. I can see that. But yeah, so some of these are going to sound like standard, and then we're going to kind of talk a bit more at the end about kind of how you got into the charity sides of these things and that kind of nature. Is that cool? Does that feel like a good rhythm for you
that's
as far
great.
as things go?
That's perfect. Because that's something that I really
Yeah,
I'm really into it. Like I'm super into it. I'm just like I'm just beyond stoked on where it's gotten to from where it started at. Like and quickly. So yeah, I'm super good with that.
So when it comes to an introduction, like how, tell me a little bit about yourself, like how maybe you got your name, how you got, we'll get into some specifics, but basically tell me a little bit about like how long you've been kind of doing this, things of that nature. Give me a little background.
I mean, I've been collecting probably since '92. Off and on, but that was when I really got started, like heavily, right in that solid, Marvel's pushing the new X-Men, like all the Chromium covers, Image, and all that. So it was a good time to get into solid.
I'm 41. Collecting. I got you, man. I'm that same age group.
Yeah, you're right there. You're right there. And then I did. Probably right after I got out of college, I did merchandising for touring bands for a long time, and in between I was like looking for stuff to do rather than going out and finding these jobs for a month and a half here, 2 months there, because I knew if I didn't work I'd just blow all my money, because I tried that for a while and I could do it, but by the time the next tour came around, it's like I don't have any money again. So yeah, I was looking for stuff to do, and I started doing just little local shows. I had a buddy whose dad did baseball card shows, and the guy did like a once a month card and comic show in Newark, Delaware. So I just started doing those. Bought some long boxes off a guy for real cheap, and started doing like what I guess people are doing now, movie spec, looking at, okay, what's coming out, like right around the time the first Christian Bale Batman movie was coming out. And, I'm thinking, okay, first Ra's al Ghul is probably going to be a good book. I bought like 7 of those, and I wish I still had them, because while I made a good deal of profit on them then, I'm looking at them like, oh my God. it's horrible. It's horrible.
Feel horrible.
But at the time, you're like, oh, I paid what, $30 a piece for these, and I'm selling them for 150. I'm thinking I'm making out like a bandit, you know. So I did that for a little while, and then I got kind of heavier back into touring. So I really didn't have time to do it, and I didn't really even have time to collect. I'd pick up a book here or there when I had the chance. But I'd gotten more into like bigger books. I wasn't reading every week the way I used to, because it just got so expensive. $3.99 here, $3.99 there. If you want to read the whole story arc, you got to buy 30 books. It's like, I'd rather take that $50 a week I'm spending and buy a $200 book a month, something like that. So I kind of got out of it for a while. Moved out to LA and got back into it, and was mostly just doing collecting and then like selling here and there, until the car accident, and then it turned into a lot more selling than anything. I kind of, it got down to the point where I was like, all right, do I want to sell these books that are my personal books, like that I don't really want to sell, or should I maybe just make an effort at, maybe I'll try an auction. And I tried one out, and it went well. It didn't do anything near what they're doing now, but I'd put like X amount of money into it. I think I took it out of my maybe my tax return or something, some little extra money that I'd had, and put $300 into buying books specifically for the auction. Was like, all right, let's see what I can do with these.
Yeah.
And I think I doubled it and was like, okay, that could work. So maybe I'll put that 300 back in, and for a little while it was like, all right, each time I'll put this amount back in. And then it was like, maybe I'll do a percentage, and then maybe I'll do this amount. And it just kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, now I can just order when I want to, and I have stuff. Like I've actually got stuff sitting here for the next one, which is good because I don't have to worry about it. I'm not stressing, like running around like, oh, I have to get an order in because I've got a week before the next. I wanted it to get to where it was every 2 weeks as opposed to, hey, I'm going to do one in a few days because I had no plans until I could put it together.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
now I can go kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, I know I'm going to do every other week. I'm going to do Monday and Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing more than 3 hours. I get cranky. I did it on Tuesday after Monday not feeling well, and I could tell like towards that last hour I was like, all right, I'm gonna start getting snippy with people. Like I should probably cut it short. It's just you don't realize until you're doing it. It's kind of a lot of work. Like when I'm not in a huge room here. I'm in what was my dad's man cave until I took it over while I was doing this. It's not a big room, so it's like I've got books laying everywhere, and you're trying to run around and write tickets down and do all this. It's like, okay, this is actually a lot more than I thought. It's not just me sitting here going, okay, cool, you guys bid on this, I'll write it down, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's not
and it's so funny because people ask me all the time, how do you get started? What's your best tip? I was like, make sure you're ready. Yeah. I was like, that's real. I mean, there's really no good advice for how to do it, especially for me, because like I said, my anxiety is a big factor in it. Like I still, even though they always do well, there's a good half an hour before it happens where I'm like, oh, is it going to do well tonight? Like I get like, oh, all right. And then you turn it on and you go and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it's, so I tell people, I'm like, I don't really know what to tell you other than to feel your way through it and see what works for you, but be ready, have Post-it notes ready, like be ready to move. It's not just sitting there making money like you think it might be.
Sharpie check, Post-it notes check, label printer check.
I've got like 7 Sharpies laying around because inevitably I'll pick one up and use it and not put it back on the table. And I'll be 20 minutes in going, where are the 7 Sharpies that I had laying out? And they're various places around the room already. Yeah. So, but that's me. I'm not the most organized person in the world. So
I think we've all been there.
Do what I can to make up for it.
So what got you into comics? I mean, was it just being a kid of the 90s and getting caught up in the hype of things? Or was it like, like this was something you did with a friend or family, or just kind of how it just found you?
I was trying to think of that earlier, and it's kind of been like an ongoing thing. When I was really young, back in the 80s, my grandparents, who actually lived here in this podunk town in Virginia where we're at now, we used to come visit, and of course even then there was nothing to do. My cousin had left all of his comic books up in the attic, so I'd flip through them, and I didn't know that much about him, but I latched onto Batman, and when he would come over we would talk about Batman. So, in 89, when the Batman movie came out, I went to see the Batman movie. Like, everybody knew who Batman was. I'd seen Superman when I was young. My parents got me into Star Wars when I was young. Like, I think I saw Empire in the theater. Yeah. So I've always been into that.
I didn't get to see Empire, so I'm jealous.
Was it? Wait, maybe it was Return of the Jedi.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying that I only got.
I'm thinking.
What's this me?
Do I have them mixed up? What's the third one? Is that Return of the Jedi?
Third one's Return of the Jedi.
Okay, yeah. So it was Return of the Jedi.
And the Ewoks, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been Return of the Jedi that I saw in the theater. So,
well,
but cool. I got into that sci-fi action comic stuff early, and then kind of got into it through him. But in like 91, 92, we moved from West Virginia to Pennsylvania, and it was like the end of 6th grade year. So like you're at the end of this year of school, with all these new people, and I knew a little bit about comic books, and people were really getting into it then. Because again, it was exploding. Like the X-Men cartoon was huge then. So it was kind of bringing a lot of people back into it, and and then with all the chromium covers and the image stuff, and
Death
so it
of
was popular. So I
Superman.
kind of Death of Superman was big. So it was something that I could kind of bond with these new kids over.
Yeah.
So I just went head first into it. Just like I had to go to the comic store like every week, and at that point you look back and you look at all those comics that you're like, man, I wish I still had that right now. But that $20 I got for it then, like I bought so many X-Men ones with it because you were thinking those things are going to make me rich.
Yeah.
So you made all those silly moves and sold your first gambits for $20 so you could buy more copies of X-Men 1. And so that was really when I got like big into it, was kind of, I guess, to kind of bond with a lot of those new kids. And I've always been like a collector. Like when I get into something, I have to get like fully into it.
Yeah.
And certain things stick and certain ones don't. And this one just stuck.
So give me your favorite character, your favorite book, and your favorite series. Like, so who's your one of each? So like a series, like a story arc, your in particular book, or maybe an actual series, whichever you choose, but definitely a favorite character. They don't have to be the same.
Favorite character, I've got to go with Daredevil. Yep. Daredevil is, I've got a huge Daredevil tattoo on my leg. It's the cover for number 3, volume 2, where he's up on the church. It's the Quesada run. Yeah, so I've got that on the back of my leg. I mean, like Batman was the first kind of character I got into, and that there's so many parallels with those characters. Like I look at them as like the Marvel and DC version of, not really, even though Daredevil has a power per se, it's more the training and the gadgets and all that, and the mental abilities, that sort of thing. So I kind of latched onto that character. I've always kind of latched onto like more obscure characters. Like I'm a big Cloak and Dagger fan. Love Blue Beetle. Just so kind of weird characters like that. My favorite story arc, I think, is probably, I'm probably going to say Identity Crisis, Brad Meltzer. The DC one. Whenever people ask me this, I don't really know. Like I always kind of go with that. It always sticks out to me. I really like the way it was written. It brought in a lot of those obscure characters that I really liked. Gotcha.
Looks like we're good.
We're good.
All right. So you got cut off around Identity Crisis, pulling in lots of those side characters. You didn't really know about, what they went through, what their feelings were, and then that's when it froze.
Right. It just took these characters and made you characters that you didn't even think about. And it not only made you think about them, but it made you care about them. Like it was like just one of those books that you would call beautifully devastating. Like, it really just like rips your heart out in all the best kind of ways that you want a story to.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy Brad Meltzer as a whole. Like I like his novels as well. But I just, that's something that I guess whenever people ask me that, it's the one thing that always jumps out. So that's probably.
I've never read it, so I'll have to check it out.
It's really cool. It's a 7-part book. It was right before, it led up into the countdown to Infinite Crisis and the Infinite Crisis thing and Final Crisis. It all kind of tied into that. And it was actually a really, really good time for DC, like that early 2000s when Jeff Johns was writing a lot of Green Lantern, and like DC really had probably saved them in my eyes, because I had kind of gotten just far, far away from DC, and I started reading these just incredible stories. I was like, okay, this is good. So
they started getting
that one's
again, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right, Marvel, DC, or indie? Like Image or Boom? Which one's switching? Yeah.
Marvel. I think overall Marvel. I could make a case for any of it. Like reading right now, I read more Boom, and probably more Boom than anything. Like I'm reading Once and Future. I'm reading Something's Killing the Children. I've got those on an online pull list just because I like reading them. Die. I'm reading. So I guess as far as what I'm reading indie stuff.
I think that's fair though for people our age though too, because being a product of those early '90s, that was Marvel's time. I mean, Marvel, because I mean, honestly, it was all the Marvel guys that really went to make Image, and then there was a little bit of DC with it. But at the end of the day, it was Marvel screwed up and wasn't really taking care of their artists the way that they should have been, which caused all that rift. But in my opinion, like the X-Men and everything that was going on at that time was just a microcosm of what pop culture was turning into more so in the 90s. Like the Outcasts were getting their day, they were getting their time in the sun. It was a lot of that music, a lot of that feel. And, I mean, as a guy that liked comics, at least before it became a little bit mainstream, like you as well, it was almost like that one refuge you did have in a lot of ways, where you could kind of relate to seeing people that were good guys that didn't get any good press. No matter how much good you did for other people still were going to be jerks.
It was relatable. It was relatable. I think, I was thinking about
because DC was still Boy Scouty,
Yeah, it was Boy Scouty, and I guess if you look at it, DC, they started with their superheroes in the 40s. And a lot of there's a lot different in the times that they were written, and so many of those characters have been around for so long that by the time this Boom came out in the 60s, they'd already had 20 years of writing put into them. It wasn't quite as adaptable, and I think Marvel, the edge that Marvel's always had, unless you were just a DC guy when you got into comics and stayed that way, is that Marvel was a universe that was relatable to people. You can really see with like a Peter Parker, the relatability, or even like, you look at Tony Stark with the alcoholism, stuff like that. Like they made even like the most inaccessible characters somehow
flawed heroes, really flawed heroes.
You care about them, and it just created this full universe that just ties together so well. And that's why I think unless you really just like, you had to be born and reading DC and solid into that to be like a DC is my, and obviously there's going to be those guys.
Oh yeah. I feel I'm not planning on like throwing anybody under the bus and being like, and now everybody go hate Dusty because he's a Marvel fan. It's not like that. It's just, honestly, it's a way, to just have conversation though too. I mean, it was Marvel went for a flawed character concept. That's something like, this person, this is a human being. I could know this person.
Yeah. I think that was some of the magic in what they did was just creating characters and thinking about that aspect of them, how to make them relatable to people, how to let people see them fail, how to let people see that they're just like, make them just not just interested in reading the story because it's cool, make them feel the story.
Yes.
Make them care about it. And if you don't relate to something, it's hard to care about it. It's like when you watch the news and you watch these stories about people that just live this whole other life, sometimes I find myself going, I just don't care.
Yeah.
Because I don't relate to it whatsoever. So I'm like, it has no bearing on my life. So why am I being shown this? I don't feel like this is news.
Yeah. It's Jay-Z got a new house, goddammit. It's like
not at all.
Must be nice. Moving on. No, I totally get that. I think Marvel's always stayed a little bit ahead in getting characters that have well represented. different groups, different.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Camilla Khan came out. I didn't know if she was going to be huge, but I was so excited when she did because I grabbed tons of those books just because I wanted her to be a big deal. Because at the end of the day, it was a character that the world wasn't just ready for, but there's so many people in the world that care about comics, and they can't just care about this white guy and this white girl or this, this the one token in everyone's situation. It was all of a sudden I felt like the comic book industry was trying to really take a step back and say, we aren't just here for any one audience or just an outcast kind of, we're here for everybody, and we want to bring you into this great storytelling, because I think that's what people got lost in. They thought it was a niche, and it's bigger than that.
It absolutely is, and I think you're seeing a lot of that right now with a lot of those characters. You look at your Miles Morales and Camilla Khan, Riri Williams, like, and the good thing with those characters is they're not forced.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I'm all for. I thoroughly agree. I think it's great that they're bringing in characters that people can care about. Like New Agents of Atlas brought in all of the Asian characters, and because there's a massive market there. There's a massive market in Asia, and what do we have? Shanghai, and I get it. I don't get it when people look at like, Iron Fist came out and they're like, oh, it's a spoiled rich guy. Well, that was the character. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to force the change just because.
Yeah.
And I think there's that fine line between that. Like, I think, I can't remember the book, but there were the characters that were, it was like Snowflake and something else. And it just, it seemed, I can't remember.
It's really
contrived. But they were just very contrived names. And it seemed forced. It's like, okay, I get where you're going with this, but I think you're going to do more damage with something like that because people aren't stupid. Comic book kids aren't stupid. For the most part, they understand that it's a necessary thing, that these characters are going to be the ones that are going to carry Marvel into the next. These are going to be those future characters like Miles Morales, like like you were saying, Camilla Khan, like.
Peter eventually has to be out of high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting him back every 10 years.
And they're going to be the ones that carry on, and I'm glad to see people latching on to it. I know there's the Comics Gate thing and all that, and that's just the sad nature of people that don't want to let go of the way things have always been. They don't realize that letting that this notion that is what it's supposed to be is not worth people's feelings. What I mean? Like, okay, I get it. Like, if you want to write books that way, write books that way. Nobody's telling you not to. But let other people, people get so concerned with what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, if this guy wants to write comic books and every character is from a different nation and every one of them is a different sexual persuasion, and let him do it.
Yeah.
Because somebody wants to read that. Somebody might need to read that. Somebody might need to see that. There is an audience for it. Doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to buy it. Doesn't mean you have to write about that. But just do you let them do, and you're not going to put this negative press on yourself either.
Yeah.
I don't get the mindset on that. So.
No, I think that there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and everybody knows that. I think, though, what people forget was what comics were for an escape for us when there was a lot of things going on in the world, and there was a lot of things happening in our lives. Those things didn't stop. We got older, but anxiety, issues, bullying, generally just figuring yourself out and who you're going to grow up and be. And all of a sudden, the ability to see a character and for 5 minutes relate or have the same question about yourself, to me, that's more important than it's a social justice thing or they're forcing something down our throats. No,
absolutely.
They're writing stories. Your story's been told, man. Your story's been done. It's time for a new story, and that's what this
absolutely is. That's why they're doing it, and that's why people are buying it, because the story has been told. Like, let's tell some new stories. And like you said, like people do need to see that. Like, I can remember reading comics and sometimes you see a situation play out for somebody else, and it makes you understand like a feeling you had that you didn't really understand, like why you were feeling a certain way. It's like sometimes just having it explained to you on paper makes it make sense. Because our emotions are wacky sometimes. Like they're hard to figure out.
I think the world needs more empathy, and I think people forget that when they're so involved in what they went through or what their story was, that at the end of the day, anxiety is anxiety. Fear is fear. You might not have never had a gun pulled on you, but you've experienced fear. Do you know what that feels like? You know what that feels like for a person that maybe it's not the exact same levels. Nobody's pretending it is, but you do understand those feelings, those emotions. And I think just storytelling is a new way of bringing those different versions of those emotions to teach people that there's more than just sympathy here. Sure, Miles and Peter's story arcs are different in many ways, but instead of his, Uncle Ben kind of concept, Miles lost that Peter kind of concept, that person that was trying to show him the ropes and get those things. There's different parallels, but the different stories don't make them, terrible all of a sudden.
No,
so
not at all.
I love it. I love it. All right, Mount Rushmore. Let's say, what are your top? What's your grails? Your top 4 grails. Your Mount Rushmore grails.
Top 4. Can I go with ones I have or ones I don't have?
This would be the ones that you would want. I mean, if you've got the books you want, then brother, you give whatever.
I've got.
If you're like, oh my
I've
god,
got a couple
what for an amazing fantasy number, whatever it would be.
Yeah. I mean, there's the typical ones. I would love to have an amazing fantasy, but right now, Daredevil 1 is my top favorite book. It's my favorite character. It was the first book that I ever got that was like that book that you're like, I would never own that, and here I am holding it. So that's my book. I've had multiple copies of it. I miss them dearly, but I've got my one copy of it. So that's one of them. I've got an X-Men 1 that I was lucky to win in a raffle. That was another one that was just like, wow, this will probably never leave the collection. I'm really after a Batman 11. It's a Joker cover where there's just a bunch of cards, like playing cards, and like the Joker's chasing Batman across them. It's just a really cool, like one of those classic old covers that I really, really want. And another one that is the same kind of thing. Another classic cover is Chamber of Chills 19. It's the one with like the Marilyn Monroe looking girl with the glass, and the inside the glass you see like the skeleton, but the outside is like her face. I think the Misfits used it for one of their album covers. So those are 2 that are just like that I'd love to have, that are way out of reach. Probably.
Well, life's long, my friend. There's no this isn't like, things you're never going to attain, Mount Rushmore. This is your Mount Rushmore.
And like I said, I never thought I'd have an X-Men 1 or a Daredevil 1. So
I don't have any of those. I've got a lot of different other books, but not anything that deep. My collection's all still pretty much being replenished in many ways.
Right.
So, all right. So your Mount Rushmore of artists, comic book artists.
Mm-hmm. That's a little bit harder.
Yeah. I have a couple curveballs.
Ditko.
Yep.
Ditko, Kirby.
Yep.
I have to go with Ditko and Kirby. Neil Adams.
Yep.
I'm a big Neil Adams fan. And I'm gonna throw a curveball in just because I loved him at the time that I got like huge into comics, and say Joe Quesada.
Awesome.
I don't know that he would necessarily be in my top 4 greatest artists ever, but
I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, there's the classic guys that built everything in a lot of ways, but honestly, I'm a huge freaking Jim Lee fan. And like for me, it's yes, I respect and I love the gold and silver, bronze, all the things that help bring comics to where they were for when I got into them. But for artists and covers and like why I cared about Image, I didn't care about Image because of the characters they just all of a sudden come up with and create. I didn't know anything about those dang guys.
Yeah, honestly,
it was Jim Lee, it was Sylvester, it was McFarlane, it was all these guys. To me, I have absolute respect for that.
I bought Image books that I didn't read for months. Like, you know, I was just like, these are cool. I'm buying these. And then I finally got around to read them. Like, I don't even know if I really like these that much, but they're cool looking. I've still got most of them.
A lot of people hate me, but I honestly, Wildstorm, the Gen 13 run, that's what did it for me. Like all of a sudden I just started, every single time the book came out, that was the only time I knew when a new comic book would drop on which Wednesday of the month. Was the Gen 13 one, because and that was the one I paid attention to. So that got me into J. Scott Campbell a lot. Yeah. And I mean, and that's a whole other different teenage angst.
And I actually really love Campbell. And that's, like I said, that was from the time that I was really into comics. Like, you know, am I thinking that he's one of the top 4 artists in the world now? But he was important for me. So that's why he'd be up there.
Yeah. I totally love that. I dig that. So, all right, how do you kind of rotate your books in your auctions? And if we're running long on time, if you need to wrap up,
dude, I'm totally fine right now. I got a bunch of stuff done earlier today. I just I've got my thank you cards still to write out. I mean, you've seen my auction. You've gotten me stuff from me before. Like, I always send those thank you cards out, and it's something I started doing, and it's one of those things. Like, when I start doing something, like, I try to be consistent with it. Like, I don't want to, you know, I want that to be known that that's going to come with you. You got one.
I got one.
You got one. So I've got those to fill out still, and I'm finding different ways to, like, instead of just writing the blatant, like, thank you for the purchase, like, it gets old. So I've been trying to find different ways to, like, I did dad jokes last time, and then the time before that I did just little fun facts. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for these, but so I got those to write out later, but I'm good for right now. So
awesome.
For auction stuff,
how do you rotate your books? Do you do like Marvel, DC, you know, silver, bronze, modern? I mean, do you have a rotation? You just have a pile and they just happen to come in the order they come in?
You know, I'll be honest with you, like, so what I do, I've got, like, my setup right. I'm actually sitting right where I do it normally. So I've got my table right here that faces the auction, and then I've got on the sides, I've got little boxes of books. So, like, I've got 2 boxes over here that are all buy it now books. I've got 3 boxes over here that are all auction books, because I get stuff in on commission too. So I've got, like, my auction books, one guy's auction books, another guy's, so that they're separate, so that I can pull, you know, if I'm running an auction, like, I'll pull one of his and then one of his and then one of mine. But as far as, like, what comes up next, like, I've tried to plan stuff out, like, you know, give people a tentative idea. On this last one, since I did it all in one night, I kind of went, okay, here's what I'm going to do for this hour, just so people knew. But I get so many when they come in that are just like, hey, do you have this? Do you have this?
Yeah.
That I'm kind of like, you know, I'll plan to do stuff, but then I'll just generally kind of see what people are asking for, because I feel like if they're asking for it, they're going to bid on it. If I wait and they're not there, because people do bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, you try and play that game. You know, it is like I was saying, you know, you have other people going, and that does happen. People that are looking for specific books bounce out and they come back like, oh, did you do this book? I'm like, yeah, I was hoping you'd bid on it.
I've been there,
and you weren't there, and it happens. I get it. Like, people have lives, you know.
Yes.
But it's a bummer when that happens, because they will inevitably tell you that they were going to bid on it, even though you've already sold it, which means you could have gotten more money, which then makes you go, oh, I wish you hadn't told me that.
Yeah, no, thanks, dude.
But it happens. So like I've been fiddling around with trying to schedule stuff, but I just kind of play it by. I like to see how everybody's feeling. Like if a whole bunch of people are asking for a specific book, and I know they're there to bid on it, I'll throw it up because I know that's when people are going to bid on it.
Awesome.
So I try to mix stuff in. Like, all right, I just did a modern book. Like, I'll throw up a Bronze Age or a Silver Age. But yeah, I just kind of see how the room's feeling.
What people are looking for, what they're asking for. Just kind of keeping a feel for that room. That's cool.
Yeah, especially now that I've got more than I'm going to get through in a particular auction. I can do that a little bit more. It's not like I'm in a rush to get through all of them.
Yeah, because if you don't have inventory then for the next time. You've definitely got so much bulk now. You've been doing this so long. You've definitely got yourself that cushion.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what kind of is the goal with Sales to Astonish? Are you looking to eventually one day kind of, maybe have an online store or kind of do a brick and mortar, keep doing this? Or maybe just, life changes and I'm just doing this for a time frame. What's Dusty's vision?
I'm still not sure. I'm really enjoying doing it. Like I said, it was just kind of a, here's the situation I'm in. Like, you may as well do it. I enjoy doing it and see what happens. And it's grown enough to where it's not to where I could make a living off of it yet, but I could see getting it to that point at some point. I've talked about doing a storefront, just because I think it would be it obviously anybody that's into comics has at one point said, excuse me, I'd love to have a comic store.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think that would be cool. But I would still do this because I feel like a lot of stores are missing out on opportunities with stuff like this. If you have a storefront, you're not out searching for books the way that I have to go out and hunt for them. They're coming to you. People are bringing collections to you all the time. So if you've got that incoming of books, you've got a storefront to put them up in, but you've also got this market that's already established that is buying these things that might not necessarily come to your store where you're going to sit on them for, so I think there are ways to combine it. I'm still at that phase where I'm growing this side of it to where I'm happy with how much I'm putting back into it, with how much excess I've got. But I'd love to grow it. I'd love to grow this and the charity stuff. Just kind of see where it goes. I've been having fun just recently doing more, collaborations with people, stuff like this, and just with the charity stuff, the people that have donated and everything. Like it's been cool networking and seeing the possibilities. So I'm kind of just seeing where it goes right now.
Check it out. Yeah, awesome, dude. No, that's cool. That's cool. All right, this is gonna be a little bit more speed round, like more like gut reaction kinds of things.
All right.
So, let's see here. Let's see. Who's your best Batman?
The best Batman?
Movies. Yep. Who's the best Batman? What actor?
This is a really unpopular answer, and I will explain it. I'm gonna say Val Kilmer.
No, dude, I was actually thinking that. Yeah?
Here's why.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the movie, because the movie was garbage. It was hot garbage. Joel Schumacher should not have been given neon paint to do The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
But and I didn't go Bale because it's like I think we're all thinking older movies here. Bale was obvious. Bale was great. Michael Keaton was a great Batman.
Yes.
Michael Keaton was not a good Bruce Wayne. He was just weird, grisly, odd little dude. Vice versa with Clooney. Clooney was a great Bruce Wayne. Terrible Batman.
Yeah.
Kilmer was the perfect combination.
Mm-hmm.
He was the smooth Bruce Wayne. He pulled off the millionaire. He
Mm-hmm.
looked tough in the suit. He sounded tough in the suit. You know, it wasn't overly done. Like, so I think as far as the whole character, Val Kilmer.
Cool. I dig it.
Definitely not the best movie.
No, but at the same time too, it wasn't the worst one either, you know, or worst ones. I mean, there's been plural, you know, in my mind.
Oh yeah.
I do. I'm still a little bit ahead on Keaton because I'm still thinking Batman. Bruce Wayne, okay, you know, but Batman was who I cared about. So for me, I'm still a little bit more Keaton. But yeah, like my runner-up is a tie between Val Kilmer and Ben Affleck. I'm still not a Bale guy. You know, Bale was all right, but it was a whole other different set of Batman that I thought was cool, but I still don't. It's not what connected me with Batman. I mean, I'm just a product of my age. I know if we asked a guy that's in their 30s or in their 20s, it's going to be
probably
all day. But
probably,
all right, so,
and I loved him as the character. I really did.
Yeah.
But
so who then is the best Joker?
Ooh.
Like if you're gonna go through another Joker, like 100%. Like if you saw your epitome of Batman and Bruce Wayne going up against that perfect Joker in your mind and be like, that would be a movie I'd watch. You know, who would it be?
It might have to be Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
He just did such a good job with that character. Like bringing out the absolute just
insanity.
Well, just the emotionless, like just that I don't care. Like that just bringing out a scary part of human beings that you don't even really see in human beings. You just know can exist, like that lack of empathy. Like he actually was able to portray that.
Yes.
You know, and that was, I mean, just an otherworldly, you know, I don't even know if he'd be able to pull that off again. Were the circumstances any different than they are right now?
Some people just have that one moment in time where they do that one thing and it is so incredibly perfect that is kind of like, and you would have to wonder though too, even if they said that they were going to bring him back to do the third movie. He was going to have a role in it. And at the same time, though, you have to wonder with how well that he did, would he have even wanted to?
Right.
Like, you know.
Right. It does make you wonder about that.
I'm not even going to try and do anything like that again.
Yeah, it does make you wonder about that.
So, on the lines of actors and roles, one of the other plurals that we have is Spider-Man. Who was the best Spider-Man actor in the movies? We got 3 to choose from.
That's a good question.
So you've got Maguire, Garfield, or great now. I'm spacing
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I really like Tom Holland, honestly. I like, because he seems more the age that I think of that character when he's starting out. You know what I mean? Like it seems more authentic. 100%. I liked Tobey Maguire. I think more so because I liked those movies. I don't know that he was really that great.
I think Tobey was a great Peter Parker, but not necessarily a great Spider-Man.
He played the role well, but I don't think that he did a phenomenal job. He just did the role well. I actually liked Garfield a little more than Tobey Maguire. Probably more so as Spider-Man, though. He was a little too not nerdy enough.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes. He was a little too cool for Peter Parker.
Little too cool. Just like the tiniest little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's like in She's All That, when you're like, I know she's supposed to not look hot. She's still hot. They just made her look not as hot as she is, but she's still hot.
Yeah.
You know. I know those glasses are coming off, and she's gonna be hot. So that's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I think Tom Holland's probably again doing the best like of both. He's young enough to kind of bumble through the Spider-Man.
Exactly. He's the real Spider-Man, the young Spider-Man. Because Tobey was older too. Tobey was supposed to play like the day of graduation Spider-Man, going into college and going out on his own, basically skipping it. He didn't even talk about college. He was just, basically reporting all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And so he's basically Spider-Man looking for a real life career. Then you've got Garfield, who's he basically meets Gwen in high school and they, smile back and forth at each other a few times. But again, though, it was a different version of Spider-Man. I didn't really highly respect.
It was a little rushed, I think.
Yeah. But I do think, though, Tom Holland's, I really feel that it's the epitome of where he's supposed to be placed in time, where you're supposed to fall in love with Spider-Man.
It's the perfect spot, and they've set it up where they can do a lot with it. I think that he's got a lot of opportunity with that character. So
and
as long as they play it right.
Yeah, and his interaction with the MCU, being that kid and that next generation, you can see that, which feels like Spider-Man for all of us that have known the character for so long.
Right.
So I dig that. All right. So let's see here. Most recent cons that you've attended, or if you haven't, which con would you want to go to?
I don't really go to a lot of cons.
Never been to one, so I'm asking for advice.
I've been to a couple. The most recent one I went to, there was just a little like local one here, up near Virginia Tech, at the community college. Just one of those little like 2-room shows, but I actually got some really cool stuff out of it. That was the last one I went to before everything kind of shut down. When I was out in LA, I went to a couple like the Wonder Cons. I don't really go to the big cons. It's too many people for me, for one. Like that's just I am doing this the whole time, and it doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? Like I've never been a huge signature guy. There are some artists that I would like to meet, some of the older guys that I would like to get a signature by. Some of the signatures that I bought signed like by the time I got around to being able to afford to get a signature from Stan, like I was kind of where I didn't really want to meet him. I was like, I don't want to meet this dude where they're like pushing books by him and like, he doesn't even want to be there. Or if he does, like he's barely holding up. And, I didn't want to be a part of that. Like I'd rather have the mystique than, so stuff like I've got a couple signatures by him and, a couple of guys that obviously I'm not going to get signed personally because they no longer are doing that or anything, So, so there's a few guys, but overall, like I'm not real big on getting like signatures and remarks and stuff like that. And con prices for buying books are just insane.
Yeah, so, I can respect that. I like my local ones too. I'm in Podunk, middle of nowhere in Michigan, but no, I see the big cons and I'm just like, man, that looks really cool. Like it might be like a go-to experience kind of thing, but like do it once and you did it. It's not necessarily like, I don't know. It's like going to a certain kind of sporting event to say you did it. And you bought the hot dog, you did the thing, but at the end
go
of the day,
and you do
could
it.
have got the same hot dog anywhere else for 1/100th.
It's the experience, if you will. Yeah. It's the experience. I've done a couple. Like I did a Wizard World in Philly one time, and they're cool to see. And like I'll go to one and go and just raid people's like $5 boxes and stuff like that. Like if I'm going to stock up for a sale, because people will bring, they'll put $10, $15, $20 books in at $5 a pop and just have long boxes of them. And I'll just come in and be like, I'll take a chunk of these
Yeah.
and then I'll just go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to stick around and see anybody cosplaying. I just don't care enough. That's what the internet's for.
Yeah, I can watch
You
that.
know, to me, and that's just me. You know, I know some people really enjoy that. If I went with a group of friends, yeah, it'd be a different story. But I'd be going for the fun of it, not the
You'd be going with your friends, not necessarily because you're going to experience a con. You're going to experience something with your friends that happens to be a con. It could have been an amusement park. It could have been a lot of things, but this just happened to be a con. So I respect that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right. What if you could have a superpower? What superpower would you have? It's cliche, but for guys like us, we thought about this,
and it's a tough one because I've thought about it so many times.
Because you think of something, you're like, but I know the fallacies of just having that. Like, not Superman. I'm not saying what powers. I said power, like singular. Yeah. Because I mean, like, if you were invisible, chances are you get hit by a truck. You know, it's kind of like, which do you?
Yeah. I'd probably take rogues.
The ability to take powers?
Yeah. I think that'd be a decent one.
Yeah. Well, that would definitely work if there was anybody you were going against with powers.
Yeah, that's true.
That worked well.
That's true. This is true.
I just see, to me though, that would be then the curse of not being able to touch another person. That would drive me insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be okay with that. I say that, but no. Yeah, I mean, there's like you said, there's the fallacy. I was trying to think of someone that I could use multiple powers. I was trying to get clever with you. Is what I was trying to do. And I may be a little too high to be clever. So.
No, that would work though. But I mean, no, the ability to take them, I totally. Something
I
like that. I don't know what I would do myself. I have no idea.
And you know what that answer was? That answer was that I've thought about this a million times and I've never come up with a good answer. So let me pull one out of my ass real quick. Because as you well know, like you just said, we have all thought of this.
Yeah.
And none of us have a good answer because which one do you take?
Oh.
I mean, the obvious choice is Wolverine.
Yeah. But you see what goes on with Wolverine. He's lonely all the freaking time.
And this turns into a rabbit hole of just sitting around in the basement trying to figure out what power you'd have. And
it's like the guys on Big Bang debating, you know, like how much Mjolnir weighs, or you know, is Superman gonna kill Lois Lane when he catches her after falling from the plane? Stuff like that. Yeah, no, I see it. I see it. Villain you most love to hate. Like every single, like if you know a character that you like, Daredevil's going up against somebody, like what villain do you love to hate the most?
Like you love to see them get beat?
Yeah, well, like, or you just like to see, it doesn't matter who the hero is. If you see somebody's going against this person as a bad guy, you're like, I might want to see how this plays out.
Kingpin.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's always smart.
Yes.
There's always more to it. It's always, I feel like
he's a layered
bad guy. There's a long play.
Yes.
And I'd like to see it play out.
Yeah.
It always
he's playing
feels
chess.
Like
Everybody's playing chess.
Yeah, it always feels like those movies that you have to watch every piece because it's going to explain it, but if you don't have them all already, you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
I like that.
Always entertaining with the storylines with him.
So as a guy that grew up in the superhero era, but also Star Wars, what is your favorite action figure? Because we've all had an action figure. What was your favorite?
My favorite action figure, Ram Man from He-Man.
Really?
The one that you could push him down and push the button and he jumped.
Yeah.
I still have my Ram Man somewhere.
That's pretty
cool. The colors I played with that toy so much. Like I played with that toy the paint is worn off the inside of the legs from pushing it down and hitting that button, but I thought that toy was the coolest. I don't want the 4-foot Batman back there to kick my ass for saying that, but
no. That's not an action figure.
It kind of
maybe he technically is. That's like a life. That's like a to scale kind of thing in my mind.
It's supposed to be. It's actually in like a packaging, and it's got a couple of movable joints.
Mine was a Rock Viper with G.I. Joe. He was like purple and black, and he had like these like removable night vision goggles and weapons all over him. He basically looked like a teched out Storm Shadow, but in black and purple. And
I think honestly, I know the one you're talking about.
Super freaking random G.I. Joe character, meant to be dying by the boatloads, but that was the one character, no matter what was going on, that if I were just having any kind of imagination, that would be the outfit I'd be wearing, because I felt like I would see me. I would have
like all that is a badass outfit.
Weapons, because at the end of the day, Storm Shadow looked dope as a bad guy, but he was all in white. You're going to see him. Snake eyes.
Unless it's snowing.
Daytime, you're going to see the dude in black. Yeah. So yeah, I was digging that. I always thought the bad guys had the cooler outfits.
They did. They always did. They always did.
The more badass outfits.
Yeah.
All right. Action figure versus Funko. Who wins? Like, would you rather have an action figure or a Funko?
I'd rather have an action figure. I like Funkos, but Funko to me is like, I'll get one if it's something that I think is really cool. Like I've got a couple up in my auction thing. Like I've got a Motorhead one and a Misfits one, and Lilu and Corbin Dallas from Fifth Element. So it's stuff that I like. I don't collect them, and I take them out of the box and I put them up. They're just cool to have around. They're cheap. They're cool little figures to like put up.
I've got a Boba Fett and a Hulkbuster, so I feel nice. I got those too.
Yeah, they're just cool little. I mean, I think they're cool little things, and they're $10, $12. So like, you grab them when you see them, but yeah, I'd much rather have like a kick-ass action figure.
Yeah, I've grown to have problems with Lego characters.
Okay,
that's where I've started to grab different things and be like, I probably don't need that, but I don't have to get the ship, but if I have the character, okay.
Probably get the ship to go with it.
I could then, have an excuse,
Yeah.
But yeah,
we talk ourselves into a lot of things.
Yeah. So, all right. Favorite Halloween outfit you ever did dressing up?
Favorite Halloween outfit I ever did?
Because Halloween's coming up. So.
Was probably the year as I went as a death metal Pikachu.
A death metal Pikachu.
Yeah, and it was basically like, I went to the store last minute and all I could find was a Pikachu outfit that was for like an 8-year-old and some black and white makeup. So we just worked with what we had.
That's something that needs a visual explainer one time.
I don't know if I can find that one. I mean, I did post up recently on my page my Halloween costume from 2009 when I was Slutty Queen of Hearts.
I saw that. I dressed up as a lady for, I had a walker and a bunch of big hair, like a golden girl. Yeah. So
nice.
I've done it. I know where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, we were out on tour. We were down in Gainesville, and I said, you know what? Everybody else gets to dress up as Slutty so-and-so, so why can't I? And it went in a Hot Topic and found that and went, yeah, let's go for it.
This works.
Yeah.
Again.
Why not?
So what is a and staying in the comic book general area too, like what would be a binge-worthy show in your mind that might not, maybe it gets tons of attention already, or not, but like what was one of your favorite binge-worthy comic book related shows that you've seen in a while?
Honestly, I really liked the Daredevil Netflix show. Yeah. Like I've watched that a couple of times through. I actually liked most of those shows. There were some that were weaker than others, but for the most part, I thought they did a really good job with them.
Defenders was solid.
Defenders was solid. I actually really liked Jessica Jones a lot. Mm-hmm. And Daredevil was killer. So, yeah, probably Daredevil.
I'm hoping they can find a way to get
I think
to
they
get
probably will.
that Daredevil, that Jessica Jones. I think I want to still see the same actors play. I can still see the same actors playing Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Yeah,
I could see that, but I wouldn't mind retconning their backstories in some way to at least redo them in a different light or way. I think
I could see that.
I think there could have been some. I don't know. I think there could have been some better writing at different points. I think that some of it got a little cliche at different parts and pieces, but that's just me. But yes, I do believe that Matt Murdock and I think the whole cast was great.
Yeah. Oh, the casting for those shows was fantastic. And
what's her name too hasn't even gotten a show since, and I can't remember her name. She was on True Blood. She played she played Matt's in the kind of like
Deborah Ann Wall.
Yes. She hasn't I remember hearing an interview with her, and it was mind-blowing that she hasn't had any other offers since that show. And I thought she did a great job.
Oh, she did fantastic in that.
Punisher too.
Punisher was good too, yeah.
That was good.
She does a Dungeons and Dragons thing.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's actually pretty entertaining.
And she does auctions on her Instagram all the time, stuff on eBay. Yeah, no, I pay attention to her. After I heard that, I'm like, I need to follow her, because when she finds something, I want to support it, because I really enjoyed her in that show.
Oh yeah, I thought she was great. I loved her in True Blood. And I thought, as Karen Page, I thought that was perfect. I was like, that's such a good casting choice.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into not just auctions, but or like how you got into auctions and how that evolved into these charity auctions. Maybe if we could just kind of start fresh, like this is a whole other experience. You know, Jared, kind of explain that a little bit to me, like how you got involved in auctions, why, and then how that evolved into
the auctions. I got into, like I said, I was looking for a way to kind of supplement income while I was here. I had a lot of issues with my arm with the surgery and everything. So I couldn't really go out and work, but I didn't want to just sit around. So I was trying to do.
Can I ask you?
I was in a car accident out in LA. I broke my humerus, 3 ribs, couple of face bones. But I had to have this arm basically plated and screwed back together. The humerus bone shattered in it. So I was out for a while with that, and then when they put the plate in, they nicked the nerve. So I had about 3 months where my hand didn't do much of anything. So it was kind of like I don't want to just be sitting around. Like I want to do something. Yeah. And since I'm here, I've got the time. I may as well like make a run at trying to sell books. I've always liked doing it. So I was trying to figure out the best way to go about it. I'd always done post sales. I'd done some claim sales and some DM sales. I'd never done a live auction. And I was like, you know what? I've got a nice little batch of books. Maybe I'll give it a shot, see how it goes. And it worked out well. I enjoyed it. And, the charity thing kind of evolved out of it. Like, I've always really liked to do charity, and with being here, being removed from LA, like with the car accident and everything, like the depression was a little bad, and it was kind of like a good way to keep up that positive. Like, what can I do to help out? Like, what can I do to feel like I'm not just sitting here feeling sorry for myself. Like, so I was trying to figure out ways to give back. I didn't have money to give. So I was like, well, maybe I can do a charity specific sale where I take 50% of everything I sell and I put it towards charity. So that was how the first one started out. I literally took a bunch of books that I bought, and so I started off doing that. As just a way to try and do what I could. I didn't have anything to really give per se, but I was like, I can sell stuff and give up as much of it as I can and start that way, and at least get people into it, get the idea out there of doing it, and I had done some work with this Smile Train company before, and I don't know where I found it. I just came across it one day, and it really struck me as such a small amount. $250 can provide a full surgery for a child in a third world nation that might otherwise not be able to get that. And you don't realize, like, if they can't breastfeed with this the cleft palates and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even beyond that, they're completely shunned in the society and that sort of thing. So for such a small amount, it was just like, this is a charity that I feel like I can get behind. So I started it out and wanted to call it, Comics Make Me Smile, because it's all about the Smile Train. And
Mm-hmm.
as it got a little bigger and people started donating, um, I started seeing other things that are happening in the world. So yeah, so it was I started seeing things that were going on in the world and wanted to kind of do, okay, I'll split it between Smile Train and this. Like when the fires were going on in Australia, we did one for the koalas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the one, not this most recent one, the one before that, I split with the Equal Justice Initiative. This one I split with ASPCA. So I just kind of find something with each one to split it up
Mm-hmm.
between. But it grew enough to where people started hitting me up and saying, "Hey, would you take donations?" And
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping it would get to that. I'm not very good at asking people for stuff. Like, I've never been one to be like, "Hey, do you want to give me free things?" Like, um, so once people started kind of asking, I was like, all right, people are behind it now. I don't feel as uncomfortable saying, "Hey, if anybody's interested, this is what it's going for." Like,
Mm-hmm.
you want people. Social media is hard because you want people to trust you. You want to trust people, but I don't trust everybody I do business with until I've done
Yeah.
business. And it's
Yeah.
hard sometimes to say, "Hey, send me your stuff
Yes.
and
And
I'll put it up." So I just kind of have to show, like, I make sure to document everything that comes in. And, like, people like, you don't have to give me that much credit. I'm like, no, I'm doing it so that everyone sees that, this is a legitimate thing. I'm not trying to
yes.
scam anybody. I'm not trying to rip anybody off, take their stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a guy that donated some stuff and I'm still selling through it at each one. And he's like, "Oh, dude, you could have gotten rid of that." I'm like, "Yeah, no, but you gave it to me for this. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's going to be used for. Like, it'll
Yeah.
sit in that box until the next one, until I sell through it."
Yeah.
Like, so, but it's
Cool.
gotten really good. People are really behind it. People have been donating. Like, um, I didn't think it would get this big this quickly, but this most recent one, we were able to raise like $600. The one before that, we were able to raise like 1,000. So it's been really awesome. Like,
How long have you been doing these now?
I did the first one at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to do like one a month.
Yeah.
I do two auctions per month, basically. I do a bi-weekly. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been trying to get it to where I do one a month and I run it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday before the auction on Monday. So
Mm-hmm.
people can combine shipping, all that good stuff. And it's been working out well so far. It's what my most recent plan has been, trying to schedule everything accordingly. I try to do it every 2 weeks as opposed to one, because I kind of want it to be more of like a fun event. Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's the bi-weekly thing. Like, I could
Mm-hmm.
do it once a week and I could probably do half the time. It just doesn't seem as fun to me. Like, I like when everybody shows up and they're like, "Ah, cool, this is happening."
Yeah.
Um, and it gives me that schedule. Okay, like, the auction ends Tuesday night. Like, Wednesday I'll send out invoices. They're due Friday because people usually get paid on Fridays. Like, I'll pack everything Saturday, Sunday. Everything goes out on Monday and done. It gives me that, like, schedule, that regimen, that to know when to promise things to people. And that way, if I do, the one charity sale a month, I run it into it. Like, I can combine everything in and kind of just make it streamlined and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just incentivizes people too, like, hey, buy some stuff.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you're getting shipping on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, but I think that's the nice thing too versus Instagram auctions versus eBay as well. So like with eBay, like you're paying shipping on every single one, and you've got all these other different fees and things to do. I think that's what's really nice about these Instagram auctions is that you can sell multiple books, you can buy multiple things, but you're not like then spending almost as much or more to have them shipped than for what it is you bought. That's really nice too. I dig that. So have you, is there anything like that personally kind of reaches out to you? I mean, I know you with the cleft palate and the Miles of Smiles, but like the ASPCA or the fires with the koalas. I mean, is the ASPCA something? Is it more of like your local? Is it the national? Is it I mean, do you have a pet that you adopted that this kind of came from, or is it just something that
ASPCA
you
to
ask
me is
people?
one of those like it's just one of those like help the helpless sort of things. Um, especially where I live here, like I see a lot of animals that aren't necessarily abused, but they're outside dogs. They're chained up outside. They're just people just own them just to own them. Like, I've always been like with charity stuff. I've always been more focused on like kids, on like animals. People that don't really have a means to help themselves as much. It's not that I feel less for grown adults or anything like that. It's just I'm kind of drawn to people that don't really have an option to, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
to better their situation.
absolutely.
I'm just a big animal lover as
Hmm.
well. So and I've been seeing a lot of the commercials recently when I was getting ready to gear up for this one. So it was kind of just like, all right, this is like in my face. Like that's what I'm gonna do for this one.
That's cool.
The Equal
Thank you for not
Justice
playing
Initiative, the
songs
one
of though for us because that was always hard. Those were the hardest PC. Like as soon as that comes on, you're like, oh God, where's oh no.
oh yeah,
Right?
it's like the worst,
Oh,
saddest song in the world, and the
I,
remote's nowhere to be found.
I can almost get through it if I can at least turn the music off. But
Yeah,
like, but it's the combination of the two. Like if I were to just like close my eyes and listen to the song, that's a beautiful song. If I were to look at it like, oh, this is terrible, but you're like, I'll get through this and I'll do something for them. But you play them together, you're just like, oh no, oh
yeah,
God.
it's a little too much. It's a
It's,
little too much.
I can feel like
So
tears starting. I'm like, nope, 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 gotta change the channel.
yeah, yeah. So that was kind of how that one came about. I try to like if it's something that's going on at the time. Like I did one for one fair wage when the Corona thing first started up.
I remember that. 'Cause that's why I was asking and going like, I thought I saw you do one of those. So that's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I kind of just when I'm gearing up to do it, I know I'm always going to do the smile train, and it
Yep,
just kind of like if there's something prevalent going on that I feel like I can help out with, then I
yep,
try and do that as the one. Um, and then like I said with this one, it was just kind of like this has been like it's been hitting me in the face. Like I feel like it's something that I like to donate to anyway. I'll make that this one this time, and then so I just kind of see what's going on. Um, being like I said, being stuck out here, there's a lot of time to sit and watch the news, and you
yeah.
just the empathy is there, and that it's kind of how I deal with my own feelings on it is to do these things, and
And being so far away from it sometimes too. I mean, I feel
yeah,
that way as well. Like, you see it happening in the world, the greater world, because of the communications that we have to kind of shrink the world a little bit to us. But when
right,
you look immediately around you, you're like, it's not a lot I can just like physically help immediately. That's just besides, just like doing my regular things for my
yeah,
family and friends. I totally get it.
yeah,
You see things where you can try and make a difference or things have touched you or you've been in the situation where you've needed help at one point and you want to help people as well because
right,
it's that karma kind of feel as well, not just being in a situation, but being able to better somebody else's that's out
yeah.
there looking for that bit of help. That's a big deal. So
It's a good feeling, man. It's there's something about doing something without expecting anything back from it. You know what I mean? Like when I made the donations yesterday, like it's just, you just click a button and it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's just something so satisfying about that it's like, it's not. And you know, I try to impress that when I put these posts up. Like I'm sure you've seen, like I always make sure to let people know that it's a community effort, because it is. Like,
Yeah.
I can coordinate this stuff all I want, but if people aren't donating books and people aren't buying them, then it's not, you know. So it's like it's not something that I do for like the recognition of it,
Yeah.
and that feeling of just here. It does something that not much else will do.
Well, I mean, this is a community. This is it's really strange in a lot of ways, because it's not fully. I think that this community is still evolving socially and digitally, because so much of our community was found at your LCS. You know, it's where you
Right.
could bump into those people, have that conversation, meet that. And we've already been on Instagram for a while, so we're seeing, you know, ways that you can continue to keep the industry alive. Because I consider you and other auctioneers, like during the COVID timeframe, some of the few people that were trying to keep the marketplace, you know, on life support.
Right.
It was dying or dead. And you guys were at least trying to keep a little bit of a pulse going, because there's a lot of people that are disconnected. There's a lot of people looking for stories. There's a lot of people looking for hope and
Yeah.
imagination, and so many things going on right
Oh
now,
yeah.
that I think that without you guys, especially doing what you were doing, just even still, you know, obviously supplementing income, doing whatever was going on, but at the same time too, there was a business side to it. But you're also doing this because people need this. It's not that it's
Yeah.
just people want it. Sure, everybody wants something, but at the end of the day,
Right.
you know, nobody needed to pay a certain price to get something. They could just look it up online or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
They wanted to have it, they wanted to touch it, they wanted to experience it,
Yeah.
and have that that moment. And I think that there's going to have to be some major changes probably with the LCS structures, and
Yeah.
you know, going forward in the future. I think they're seeing that a lot, but I really credit you guys for helping kind of keep that industry rolling during this
Yeah.
time to make it through to where it is now. And I'm hoping it continues to evolve and, you know, build on top of each other. But
Yeah.
I really I don't know. I think that the community itself is very indebted to you guys for doing that. I know there's been people doing it for a while before COVID, but continuing during that time frame, because it hasn't been an
Yeah.
easy time for anybody, not for
Well, it's,
anybody.
I mean, to be honest, it's it's a social time for me too.
Yeah.
You know, like you were saying with the conversation, like I'm like I've been here maybe a year, and I still don't really know anybody here, because there's just not anybody here. Like, this place is in the middle of nowhere. Um, and it's like a chance to get out, and you've got 40 or 50 people that you can converse with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't look at it as just, yeah, I mean, yes, I'm there to make money.
Well,
Like I
it was
wouldn't
a
do it
business,
if I
but you're there
wasn't.
to spend money too, so it's
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. And but it's at the same time, it's like, it's fun. And that's why I like the conversations. That's why I'll get lost in the conversation and have to go back and look at what the bid is because, you know, that's a lot of the social interaction that I'm getting right now. And
Yeah.
I imagine it's the same for a lot of people.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Has things did things go up during COVID as far as like people coming in, or
they
they still kind
actually
of stay the same?
did. They
Yeah.
actually did a little bit. I got worried about it because, like, I was really just starting to hit my stride with it and like grow when everything started shutting down, and I got worried about it. I was like, well, shit, are people gonna have money?
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna be able to find books? And it turned out, it worked out okay, because I mean, with all the time in the world, I was just scouring people's sales
Hmm.
and buying stuff, and it turned out that people did want to have something to do. They did want to buy books still. They were getting money, so it actually turned out better than
Yeah.
than I know myself and a couple of people I talked to hoped that, that it would at least stay the same. And I feel like it got bigger.
Yeah. I think everybody had the time and the desire to be a part of something. But I think also too, I mean, I think that's the other side of it, right? Because you can be involved in a chat room and it just gets annoying as hell. Because then there's a bing, 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 bing. Every single time you go in there, you're hoping it's a DM from one person for a basic conversation, but then you open it up and it's the same chat with the same 10 people still having the same ridiculous conversation that you kind of care about, but you're like, oh well, I don't want to leave it either because I look like an a-hole, but but at the same time too, like for me, I know I can go into an auction and yeah, I'll usually buy a book, maybe two, maybe more, I mean, it depends on what I'm doing that day. So I like to buy things. But at the same time too, I'm also having great conversations with the other people in the chat, with you, with the auctioneers, so for me as well, I mean, yeah, I see where's a great social time for you guys, because I mean, getting to speak and talk and steer conversations, there's a lot of power and fun in that. I see that. Like just for myself as a user too, one things I do like about the ability to move through is like I'm seeing lots of friends. It's like being at a party and just going into different rooms of the party, and there's different people in each room, and you can be like, oh hey, there's Viking, or oh hey, here's so and so, and I can see those different people, and to me that's the beauty of it, because you can go into those places, you can see those faces, and well, not faces, but those conversations, and not have to be in any kind of crazy obtuse conversation with all people I love, but at the same time too, like bling bling bling. It's not being thrown at me. It's letting me wade into it in the way that
you can be a part of it.
Yes, yes, I can, and I can take it in the way that feels comfortable for me, right? So I mean, if I got something else going on and I'm a little anxious, need to kind of get out and just kind of relax and just talk to some other people about something completely different, I can hop into an auction. I can have a conversation about the book that's up, or did anybody in here watch this TV show yet that's kind of related? And there's no thing that's out of bounds, I think, other than politics and religion. It's just if it's
just
about
the normal stuff.
Nope, that's it.
It's just the normal stuff. I mean, that's one of the, like, I won't get into it at the auction. Like, I think people know where I stand on politics because I post enough stuff about it, and like, and I'm like, if you want to talk about it, cool. If you want to fight about it, we're not going to do that because I don't want to. Like, but there's a time and place for it, and like it'll come up at auction, and I'm just like not even gonna. I'll just, if somebody says anything, I'll pretend I didn't see it. We'll blame the lag. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. It's always, there's always going to be somebody, but at the same time, I think though that that's kind of the safe place of it all. So, Dusty, I really appreciate you taking the time for this. This helps me out a lot. I've got a lot of things that I want to be able to do, and without conversation to make some of these little commercials, these pieces of content, these blurbs that I want to be able to do to help steer people in your direction, and other auctioneers too. But I also want to be able to make cool pieces of content that let people get to know those persons, because at the same time, we are human beings on the other sides of these avatars and the other sides of these cameras. And while you're in there selling books, there's more to Dusty than the books, and there's more to Nerd King as a person who's buying the book. So I mean, these conversations are amazing opportunities. So I really appreciate your time tremendously. I want to be able to have enough of these interviews to make short 15 to 30-second commercials, which now I've got enough to probably make 100. And we can spread those out over lots of different parts and pieces. But I also want to do something different too about the charity. So you'll probably hear me, asking more questions over the next few days as I get a few more things together. But I do want to be able to put out some stuff on that, because I think that's special. That's not something a lot of any of the other guys are doing. And
I appreciate that very much. That's something that I'm very passionate about. So
yeah.
like I said, I'm super, super excited that it got to where, my hope was, okay, eventually maybe I'll get it to the point where I can put stuff in that I'm not taking any percentages off of, which I've gotten to. I just put books in now, like, here's this, and I was like, and maybe eventually people want to donate, and like people hit me up now and they're like, hey, I want to do a drawing, I want to do some art, like, which is awesome. So I'm super stoked on it, but I'm really behind like doing that. So I appreciate that, man. It's like we were saying, it's a community effort. It's that means just as much to me as having books to sell or a place to donate it. Like getting the word out about it is just as important to me. So that's awesome.
Well, I'm going to be in lots more touch. I'm going to get you also all of the, and we'll maybe make a conversation about Google Drives or whatever it is you would use or prefer. But I'm going to get you all the raw material, as well as whatever I do make, you get a copy of to put on your own account. When is your next auction, by the way?
It will be, let's see, tomorrow's the 10th, right?
Yep.
It'll be a week from tomorrow.
Okay, so that's cool. It'll be the day. So we'll be able to start off with advertisements for you. Because that'll be good. That'll be good. So it'll be so Monday? Yeah, that'll be our launch day. You'll be our first auction that we can talk about. So there probably won't be a lot, but it won't be a huge audience yet. But hopefully in the 2 weeks after that, it'll be a better audience for you to get something
it works for me.
All right, brother.
And like I said, anything I can do to, repost or get the word out to, just let me know.
So
yeah, definitely.
All right, brother. Well, you have a great evening. Thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate it,
man.
And thanks
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll do it again. Okay.
All right, brother.
Talk to you later.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.